back to another episode of the Junk Mail with myself and Dylnuz. Dill, what's on for today's show, mate?
We've got a play-by-play of the top 20 of the AFL draft, which has been very, very exciting. And then we've got George. He's coming in. He heads up some of the Mailbag's NFL content. So some big stuff here happening. Obviously tomorrow being Friday, we've got 3 games there. So he's got a couple of tips for you there. First cab off the rank, we've got Jason Horne-Francis. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to really trust any of the 2 first names, but I think he's technically got 3 almost there. So, I don't know. Is it full circle? You start trusting him again, I guess. I don't know.
I think you trust them, and then you don't trust them, and then when for 3 first names, you start trusting them again, and then you lose a lot of trust for them when you realise they play for North Melbourne. So
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, really handy pickup. Played a bit of SA NFL. Averaged 24 disposals in the shape of a Dangerfield kind of Nat Fife style, which I mean, like, you're not going to not pick them up with your first pick if they're anywhere near that. So,
yeah, you just got to gain that trust back, though. Just as we spoke about, I want to touch on it again. You got to get that trust back. But
trust
carry
on. Baby. With pick 2, we've got Luke Darcy's son. So father and son. Is he going to go out and be like a weird presenter at the end of the day after his AFL career? Maybe. Is he going to one day?
Probably.
Is he going to do the Olympics one day and you're going to be like, why is Luke Darcy on the Olympics? Why is his son on there? You know what I mean? Is it going to be a father-son duo?
Does he own the precinct in Richmond? Is he going to be real awkward and have a weird sort of mullet? By the way, just quickly,
he actually does have a mullet.
Man, what's going on with his mullet?
Yeah, I mean, you're like 40, 50, who knows? It's kind of like the age when players get to that age demographic after footy. You're like, a couple of years after, you're around 30, 35. But we don't know how long he's been out of the game. Is he 50? Is he 40? Who knows? You know what I mean?
Who's cutting his hair? Who's trusting this guy's? Who's cutting his hair? And mainly the point is, who's cutting his son's hair? And is his son good at football? These are the things that on this show we won't find out and we won't tell you.
Well, by the look of it, he's not too bad because he played Oakley Chargers and he also played Big Metro, key forward and defender.
Well,
he's 200.
I actually played at Northern Knights a couple of games. Yeah. So it was only 3 games, and they were sort of under 14s or 15s. They were trial games, and then you got after those 3 games, like the following sort of 2 months after, you got a call back to see if you'll be playing in the next round. I didn't get a call. I didn't get called back. But what I'm saying is, I played in the Northern Knights, and I've still got my hat, and I've still got my bag, and I've still got my singlet, and I wear it all the time, and it still fits me. So
as a 28-year-old, I would still wear my Northern Knights shit around at the shops, obviously, which is good.
Yeah.
So again, back to it. He's 205 centimeters, 93 kilos, good size, and I reckon the Western Bulldogs would be pretty happy with that pickup. I'm just gonna skip the next fella. They've gone with just GWS. They've gone with the best player that they could in the draft at that point in time with Finn Callaghan. But I think you might want to speak about the next guy, pick 4.
Pick 4. I wonder who went pick 4, mate. I wonder who went pick 4, mate. Because it's my favourite player and best friend, by the way, Nick Dacos. I told you I wasn't comfortable talking about it because I was going to get too excited, but now I'm opened up to talking about it. I feel like everyone was bagging him during the week, saying he's cocky, saying he's arrogant. If you were as good as Nick Dacos, you would be too, because he's probably got. I reckon they should give him the captaincy, and I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe throw a cheeky $50 on him to win the Brownlow. I don't know if that's too soon, but I honestly think we're playing finals next year. If not, probably got the grand final wrapped up in the bag if Nick plays. So
I think that's
something to think about.
I think that's a genuine an overall consensus from the Collingwood following that he's just going to save the club.
It's fair. Yeah. We don't want to overdo it. We don't want to pump him up too much. But he's averaging 40 disposals a game, and I can't see why not he can average that in the AFL sort of standard. Everyone's like, oh, he's like a Dusty, he's like a Dangerfield, he's like a Jordan De Goey, he's like all these plays, he's Bachaka. No, Nick Dacos is like a Nick Dacos, mate. He's one of a kind, and he's a champion.
Yeah, he's a champion already. And then we're rolling through to pick 5. We've got
who gives a shit about pick 5? Who cares?
I think one thing that I do like, pick 5, he's a ruckman. But I mean, you're like, oh, do Gold Coast need a ruckman? They've got wits, but they kind of need everything. Like they just need everything. But I do really enjoy it.
All right. I don't know, mate. They're actually going all right. The Gold Coast are probably one good player off like dominating, like really dominating, like tearing the game up.
Yeah.
Alex Sexton's like their Nick Dacos, basically.
Yeah. We'll rush through the next one. We've got Adelaide's picked up a mid forward. Then we've got pick 7. We've got Hawthorn with another mid, Josh Ward. And then Jay Amos, Freo picked up. He's a local boy with pick 8. Then we've got a defender for in number 9 for Tigers, which they've been looking for. Another local boy for Freo. They've picked him up. He's pick 10. He's a mid forward as well. And then we've got a really good midfielder, Wanganeen Malera. Some serious names in terms of AFL there. With pick 11 for St Kilda. Josh Sin. There's a bit of movement there in the draft around that pick 12. So they ended up getting him as a mid forward. One of the better pickups that I reckon Essendon will be pretty wrapped with is pick 13, Ben Hobbs. He's a midfielder. He's like a tank. He was standing right next to in a photo with some of the other Essendon boys, and he's like standing next to McGrath and those other fellas.
Like a literal tank.
Yeah, he's actually a tank.
I'll stop you there, mate. I think I don't know if you want to get a photo up of this. West Coast drafted a bloke called Campbell Chesser, and there was a bit of a mix-up, and I don't know who's to blame, but I want to find out how they sort of stuffed this up. Look at the size of the jumper on this poor kid. Like, did they think, like, even if he was a lot taller, like, what's going? Like, it's the biggest jumper I've ever seen in my life. It's a dress. Like, what the
Honestly,
fuck?
I reckon what they've done is they've gone like, fuck, we don't have a jumper free. Nick Nat, can we just grab your jumper? I reckon they've obviously just gone.
That's what they've done.
They've gone
It's 100%. That's actually 100% what they've done. That's the only way I can explain it. Unless like someone, why don't they have a whole bunch of different jumpers ready? Like, do we need to tell them? Like, you wouldn't think we need to tell them this, especially coming from our show, which they don't sort of listen to and won't give any sort of credit to. But how does that sort of happen? Like, it's got me fucked.
I'll go speed round from 15 onwards. Even though we've got 2 Brisbane players in there, and I've had a little bit of interest there. But we've got
also just to cut you off one more time, Dill. Did you see the footage of that bloke for getting drafted by Brisbane and then all his mates going absolutely nuts? I don't know if you want to get that up, but that's grouse. That is absolutely unbelievable.
He did. That's Darcy Wilmot at 16. Young running defender in the mould of Jack Crisp, which we like to hear on the show.
Jackie boy.
And he's obviously been like absolutely just like jumped all over by his mates and stuff. And then he was asked on Trade Radio today, I think he was speaking to Zorks, he was like, oh, and how'd your mum react? And she's like, oh, she's a sookie lala. She was just crying the whole time. He was like, yeah, his bloody shoulder was wet by the end of it. Like,
oh, saying Suki Lala is the best thing ever.
I know. I
loved it. And even at the phone call we had with Fags, just a smile on his face, just like listening to him. I'm like, he's already like one of the favourites, and I don't even know if he's any good.
Well, the funny thing as well, in that same interview with Zorks, he was like, oh, how'd you go speaking to Fags the other day? And he's like, oh, well, look, to be honest, I actually didn't really know it was Fags on the phone. I was just getting so many phone calls. I just thought it was someone random, and then I didn't realise until I got off the phone.
He's like, yeah, thanks, mate. Like, is this my pa? Like, who is this? Just boring and just
like one other bloke just give me a call.
Mate, he's an absolute character. I think I love him already.
And then, interesting enough, like this is funny just for me and you, right? But like at 17, Richmond have got another defender, which that's not the funny part. But his name's Tom Brown, and your old housemate was Tom Brown. That's played a little bit of footy with Tom, and you're obviously his housemate. So I think that's funny for us. But like, not a very funny joke for anyone else. We've got pick 20. We've got Kai Loman, forward, exciting. He's a little bit of he's a pocket rocket. He's kind of going to be a Cam Rayner replacement apparently, but I don't know how we're going to really replace.
Cannot replace a Cam Rayner.
Nah.
Cannot replace a Gary Bertier. Hell of a person, hell of a player. Get that up.
Yeah. Moving on, we've got we have George. He's a part of the Mailbag team. He's been doing some really, really good NFL content. And he's going to give us some exclusive on the latest NFL picks. So we'll introduce George right now. George, welcome to the Junk Mail, mate. Obviously, you might not know George, but he's our in-house. I'd probably say NFL expert, but yet to be known. There's a bit of chat within the group at the moment. Who's the best? So what's the situation with that, mate?
Yeah, it's taken us till week 11, but we've finally got a bit of a competition going amongst a few of us. Dicko, he likes to think he might be a bit of an expert. He got off to a hot start on the weekend, off to a 4-2 start. We got me, myself, and Matty, who are supposed to be the ones, they're talking about chasing a little bit, but got a good prize on the line, I think, come the end of the season. So there's probably a bit to play for. So I might have to pick up the game a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got the first cab off the rank, which is tomorrow, 3:30 a.m. I think it is, but it's Lions versus Bears. What's your thoughts on that one, mate?
Yeah, it's good that it's the early one because it's a pretty disgusting game, to be honest with you. Two pretty shitty teams. But that means that there could be a good opportunity for the under. It's pretty low. Last time, I think it's around 41, which is very, very low for an NFL game. So probably not something that I would want to touch. A lot of injuries at this time of the year. A lot of teams, all the teams sort of dealing with it, but particularly Chicago, Justin Fields out. So that'll mean their backup quarterback in. Doesn't leave me with a lot to like, and it might be pretty crazy, but I think this could be the game the Lions finally get a win.
Yep.
I wouldn't probably take them straight up. I'd take them with the head start. So I think they have a 3-point head start. So +3, Lions +3 would probably be the one for me for this. And I think Chicago might be wanting to get their coach fired. So they might be not interested in playing all that well. So I reckon Lions +3 for that one in that early game, which is pretty yucky.
Beautiful. And obviously the game after that, around 7:30 in the morning, there's the Cowboys and Raiders. What's your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, again, another game which has quite a lot of injuries. The Raiders obviously had their fair share of controversies and things that have sort of gone on with them this year, and sort of since they lost their coach to a bit of an email scandal, seems to be going around a lot in the world of sports at the moment. They've not been playing very well. Yeah. The less said about that, the better. But yeah, they've also sort of not been playing very well since then. I mean, obviously the Cowboys lost pretty bad to the Chiefs last week, but again, had a lot of injuries. They should get a pretty key member of their O-line back, Tyron Smith, this week. I would expect them to be running the ball a lot. The line's 7.5, which is a lot. I can't really keen to jump in sort of at the line. But I do like the under. I just don't think the Raiders, their offense is just struggling a lot. Cowboys could put up a heap of points. I just don't think they got Amari Cooper's out with COVID, one of their wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb is their other starting wide receiver out with concussion. So I would lean to just them running the ball all day. Zeke, Tony Pollard, big game. So I would go the under on the points, but I also take Tony Pollard, who's the Dallas other running back, his rushing yards, which I think is about 40. I think he'll clear that pretty easily.
Yeah, beautiful. And then the 11:20 game tomorrow, there's the Saints versus Bills. What have you got there for us, mate?
Yeah, on paper, you'd think this is probably a pretty good game. Again, a bit of a common theme here. The Saints are so injured, really bad. Both running backs, O-line, really badly injured. No quarterback, obviously playing with the backup. Buffalo, who knows what they're doing. They got smacked by the Colts at home last week, and then some weeks look great, some weeks don't. I probably would lean the under here again. I just can't see how the Saints score. Buffalo's D is really good. I think the line's about 45. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it in front of me, but I would be probably taking the under on this again, which is probably a bit boring. No one likes taking unders. We want to see the points. But yeah, I'll be taking the unders in this one as well. And a little cheeky bet at odds. I haven't looked at it because it's not out yet, but Taysom Hill anytime touchdown with no running backs in for the Saints. They'll get him in around the red zone. If they can score, it could be him. And I reckon you're probably going to get about $5 or $6 for that. So that's a little cheeky value play out wide. But the under would be the main play in that one again.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. And of course, obviously flying back from a couple of wins down on Dicko. What's your plan of attack this week? We'll keep it between me and you. What's your thoughts on how you're going to come back from that deficit?
Well, hopefully, obviously, we can get these 3 picks over the line. We've been going all right in primetime games. If anyone's been following the NFL Mail, we went 3 from 3 with the Pats game last week on tips, and we went 2 from 3 with the Monday game this week. So hopefully a bit more of that. I haven't really dived into the Sunday slate as yet. I like the Pats again at home to the Titans, who are pretty rubbish at the moment with no Derrick Henry. And that's probably about all I've got at this point. If you want to see a little bit of mail for the lads, if you want to stick around, you've got to go read the articles and check the tips out that'll come out. Then you'll know what all the plays will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to be catching up on Dicko because he can't be winning.
No. Well, as George said, we'll keep an eye out on the Mailbags NFL content, and we're giving that away for free. So just make sure you like the Mailbag on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and mate, you'll get all those for free. But thanks so much for jumping on board. We'll try and make it a regular kind of occurrence.